Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to connect a Google Sheets to a MongoDB cluster. This video is meant to be an update of some other videos on YouTube that demonstrate how to do this using the old stitch option. However, Mongo has gotten rid of that in favor of Realm. So there's a slightly different method to do this, and it's worth updating. Okay, so to begin, we're going to need to create a free MongoDB account and a cluster on that. So we can start for free and get about half a gigabyte of storage free and some other awesome services. Okay, so once we've created a new account, we'll get a screen like this and it'll ask us which preferred language we want. I'm going to choose Python because I'm most familiar with that, but please choose whichever one you're most familiar with. And we'll choose the free option and create a cluster. There's a lot of different options here, depending on where you are for your cloud provider region. Just select whatever is closest. I'm going to stick with AWS since I'm most familiar with that, and then we can leave the rest of these settings as they're defaulted and create this cluster. So this can take some time to set up, and I will pause the video here so that I can skip to that. Now that we've created our cluster, we can click on it in the sandbox button and view different metrics about it. We'll now want to add a new application. So we'll come up here to Realm and then click the Create a New App button. We can name this whatever we want. I'm going to name this Sheets to MongoDB, and we see here that cluster 0 is selected and linked. Then we'll just click Create Realm Application, and we'll get this screen. Now that our new app is created, we're going to want to link a third-party service. So we'll come down here to third-party services and click Add a Service. For our purposes, we just want to select the HTTP button, and then we can name this Sheets to MongoDB and add the service. We'll get a screen like this, and we'll want to add an incoming webhook. The defaults that we see here can be left alone, or you can configure as needed and rename if desired. We'll then come here to Function Editor and get rid of the default code that's here, and instead put this code and configure this how we want. So in this case, we'll say animal records. Once we have written this code, we'll click Run to test it out and get an output like this, showing that it ran successfully. We can then save this and then click Review and Deploy to finally deploy this code. Once we've completed this step, we'll want to go back to our Google Sheets and then come up to Tools and click the Script Editor button, which will launch the Google Script Editor. We can get rid of the default empty function, input our own, in this case connect to MongoDB. We can see here the sheet name is specified as sheet 1, which is what it is named here. If your sheet name is named differently than sheet 1, then you'll need to make sure to change that here. The next important thing to change in this function is this webhook URL. So the default is something we can get rid of. And then by going back to our service that we have deployed, we can find the webhook here and copy it and paste that here. The last thing we'll want to change is this last line here. So there's something called confirmation IDs that Mongo will give us when we've uploaded our data from Google Sheets into the cluster. Here we have 3 columns. If I want to populate the last column of my spreadsheet with this confirmation ID, I'll have to change this so that it's the 4th column. Once this is changed, we can now test out running our function by coming up here to this arrow button and clicking run. Before we can run, we must save this. So we can do this now and just call this sheets to Mongo. Importantly, we'll need to make sure to keep clicking this run button and work through all of these different steps. The next being authorization. So we'll just need to allow Mongo to access this. You may get another error message saying my function was not found. Lastly, we can get rid of this by, again, clicking run. And now we can see it's running the correct connect to MongoDB function. Once that's complete, we can come back to MongoDB and click on our cluster, and then go to the Collections tab. Over here, we can see that Animal Records has populated. It started with the hello world, but we can also see the data from our spreadsheet has populated. If we go back to our Google Sheets, we can also see the confirmation ID that was provided by Mongo. The last thing I want to show is how to set up triggers so that your data will automatically update periodically in MongoDB. So a spreadsheet like this might be connected to a Google form that is getting filled out on a rolling basis, or you might have some sort of programming script that is updating data to this spreadsheet. So if we go back to the script editor and click on this clock here, so current projects triggers, this will open the triggers tab, and then we can create a new trigger and then come down to select event source and change this to time driven, and then select how often we want this to update and click save. By adding this trigger, this will tell the spreadsheet to run this function every single hour, and it will update all of the data to our MongoDB cluster. Okay, so that's it for this video. Please let me know if you enjoyed it and if you have any comments, questions, or feedback. And please hit the subscribe button if you got any value out of this, and make sure to share it with anyone that you think might get some use out of it. Thanks.